All right, we are live, boys. Welcome to the Paceroos podcast live. This is taking us about an hour to do, and it hasn't been too much fun. I think I've cracked it a couple of times, but here we are. We're on. Guys, how are you feeling after the last hour of a debacle of trying to go live on YouTube?
Are we sharing the link?
Yeah, we're. I'll share the link to you guys right now. And here we go. And we're on.
Did it just cook up for everyone?
Have we
just shared it with you, Justin? So we will share with our illustrious viewers.
Did it just freeze for everyone?
No.
Me? We got no eyes on this, so that's okay.
Right,
we have one person viewing. So we're just going to pop the link on Twitter, guys, on our Twitter, and we'll also put it on maybe Insta as well, in case there's a few people that want to get involved. But welcome to the Paceroos Live. Oh,
he's pissed.
What?
He's pissed. Patrick Beverley's not happy, mate. he's tweeted out. He's just tweeted out reacting to Montrezl Harrell signing with the Lakers.
What did he tweet? Is it PG?
He just said
this broadcast is intended for kids.
Oh, no, he just the facepalm emoji, what, and then like the red face with the swearing or whatever. You guys can see it if you go on his Twitter.
Nice.
Does everyone want to retweet the Paceroos what they just tweeted?
Yeah.
Absolutely. I'll retweet it now. Guys, it's been a really big day for the Pacers, but we haven't actually done anything. That's the random part. Like, there's been so much talk about Gordon Hayward. There's been so much talk about Miles Turner. And I know that the three of us have been pretty active talking about this. And it just, there seems like an air of inevitability to it. Something's going to happen with Gordon Hayward. We just don't know what, and we don't know when. We don't know who's going to be involved, who we're going to have to sacrifice. Danny Ainge wants like every single one of our starters for a guy that has barely played for the 3-year contract he's held. I don't know. It's a weird situation. Greetings, Nick. Greetings, Happy Panda. It's good to have you guys on. Good to have a few people jumping on the live stream. Sorry, this has taken a little while. We're 3 grown men who really struggled with technology today. I'm feeling my age right now. Alex, you're supposed to be the one that's young and up with technology, but we just couldn't get this thing going, but now we do. Shouts to Born Ready Jones for the tips of how to get involved. Alex, I've got to ask you off the bat, Miles Turner could be wearing a different uniform, and that's not something that you're a big fan of. I know that you've done a bit of work for Miles. You guys are tight. You're a big Miles. Yeah, there you go. You're repping Miles Turner. Danny Ainge is asking for Miles Turner, for Oladipo, for Reggie Miller, for Rick Smits, for Detlef
He's asking
Schrempf.
for the entire state, mate. The entire
Don
state
Sloan.
of Indianapolis he wants.
He's asking for TJ Ford. He's asking for DJ Augustin. He's asking for.
I think he's asked for everyone but TJ Leaf. I think.
That's
I'm
too
sorry
harsh.
to judge you, mate.
Too harsh.
I'm sorry.
At least he hasn't asked for
Hopefully
Goga.
Yeah, true. You have a Goga jersey, so.
Yeah, I can't afford for Goga to leave because I invested in the Goga jersey, so it's going to be bad. So Alex, how are you feeling about it, man?
Yeah, not great, is it? I think, it's taken some time to process, but at this point, I've just pretty much accepted that, if not this offseason, which I would be shocked, it will probably happen during the season. Like, I doubt Miles will be on the roster in, a day's time, yet alone a year's time. So, I mean, yeah, if you asked me 5 hours ago, I probably would have broke down, mate. But it's just the nature of it, isn't it? The nature of the business.
Yeah. Justin, how you feeling there? We can only see half your face. You're on your phone. It's all sort of gone pear-shaped for you today.
Oh, no.
How you feeling, mate?
Yeah, I'm having a mad gone live. I don't even know if people can hear me or see me, but Yeah, obviously just being glued to my phone the last few hours. Well, ever since I woke up at about 6 a.m. So what's that for? About 6 hours I've been glued to my phone, just waiting on this news. I don't think any Hayward trade gets done today. It sounds like Pacers and Boston are very far apart on coming to an agreement. But yeah, I'd say maybe in the next few days, something will get done. Someone will, drop in their stance on the package they want, and let's hope it's Danny Ainge.
Well, it's been Danny Ainge historically. Like you've heard so many times that Danny Ainge, wanted to offer nothing for Paul George. He wanted to offer nothing for Anthony Davis. Like just completely underwhelming trade packages. But when there's a player that wants to go back the other way, of course he wants everything. So you can't have it both ways. He's got a pretty bad reputation, and it's not looking like a deal's going to be done anytime soon if that's the sort of stance he's taking, because there's no way that the Pacers give up 2 starting players for Gordon Hayward. I can't see it happening. And I think if it did, the feedback from the franchise, from the fan base, would be pretty vitriolic, be pretty mad. Like, Alex, you'd be pretty mad if we gave up 2 players in the starting rotation for Gordon Hayward.
For sure. I would be all right, mate. I mean, yeah, that would make absolutely no sense. But I mean, there's literally zero chance KP does that. I mean, not to mention the fact that it's a conference rival as well. So, I mean, yeah, that would literally make no sense. I like this 3-team trade though. Here, this man's got in the comments: Doug and Goga to OKC with some picks, Steven Adams to Boston, and Hayward to Indy. So there you go. I don't mind.
Love it.
Yes. And that
Hayward
fits them as well. So fits Boston. They need a center. Fits us. So I like it.
The difficulty with the Hayward situation is how much money he wants after he opted out of $34 million, because you got to think that he wants more than that over more years. He's got to want 25, 30 over 2-3 years to try and justify the fact that he just gave up 34. So I think it's. I think we've got actual Justin. We've got live Justin back. Here he is.
I worked out how to use
mate.
the computer, guys.
Good stuff.
Let's go.
It's only taken you 29 years to work out how to figure it, how to use a computer. Congratulations,
All right,
my friend.
the hot takes are coming now.
All right, mate. Just wind up and let fly. What do you think about this Hayward situation?
Yeah, geez, I put my computer down for this. I think we've all come to the realization that Gordon Hayward will probably be a Pacer next season. It's difficult seeing this deal happen without Miles Turner. I mean, you guys all saw, and the fan base would have saw what we're offering Miles Turner and Doug McDermott for Hayward, which is more than reasonable. My question, which I floated to you guys, is I don't get Boston's leverage here. Like, they've got a star who declined a contract, who said he wants to come to Indiana, and they're expecting all these players. Like, if we had Oladipo saying he wants to leave, and it's, Pacers should get no return, they've got no leverage. Why should Boston expect any sort of fair compensation when Hayward doesn't want to be a Celtic anymore?
Well, he's technically not their player to trade. He has to agree to a new contract in a sign and trade situation to be able to get to a destination. So for me, you're right. The only leverage that they have is if Gordon Hayward says, I only want to play for the Pacers. That's the only leverage, because then he needs Boston to facilitate a deal, and then the Pacers need Boston to facilitate a deal. But I mean, it remains to be seen if India repping the club, all 3 of us. It remains to be seen if the Pacers want Hayward badly enough to be able to sell the farm here, or to be able to even go close to what Ainge wants. I mean, at the moment, the rhetoric we've heard is run it back. We've heard that the club wants to run it back this season where possible. We've got a new coach. We have the opportunity to play faster. We have the opportunity to play with a different temperament. And I don't see the Pacers wanting to spend a great deal of time and a great deal of assets trying to get a player to change things dramatically when they've said they don't really want to. Like, Alex, is there a possibility that Hayward walks to New York and this get nothing?
Yeah, I mean, I don't see why that's not a possibility. I just think that, like you said, I mean, Shan's reported that he's all set on coming to Indiana, so I think that's really the only leverage they have. And then Atlanta was another team that was rumored to be interested in him. They just signed Gallo, so, that's another suitor gone. Boston are losing leverage by the day, aren't they? Which is good news for the Pacers, and it looks like Davis Bertans just agreed to a 5-year, $80 million deal to return to the Wizards. So that's a
5 years,
a bag for
80.
him. Yeah, he got a bag. Jeez.
16 million average a year. That is a lot of money in a lot of years for a guy that is a good stretch 4. And does he do a lot else than that, or is he just an elite stretch 4?
No, if you're a white guy in the NBA, you just shoot the ball. That's about it, mate. I don't think you can do much else.
Hot takes. Justin didn't like that take so much, he's just left.
I'm sorry, Justin, mate. Justin's
reading
a
these
shooter, so he
comments.
knows.
Reading these comments, Miles hates Indiana. Pack him up. Someone 80 million for Bertans. Wow, yeah, it's pretty crazy. Like Atlanta wants to be aggressive in free agency. I look for them to try and steal away Bogdanovich or Hayward. They're really trying to please Trae Young. Yeah, I agree with that, and we've mentioned that in the podcast. That Atlanta are going to try and make the playoffs this year and build around Trae Young. Interesting.
Yeah.
Just quickly, I don't know what Detroit's doing. I'm worried about Pacers and stuff like that. But geez, if I was a Detroit Pistons fan, I would not be happy today.
It's pretty good to
there
have
you go.
Cleveland and Detroit in your division, isn't it? Feels pretty comfortable that you're going to get a pretty easy 4 wins a year at this rate. Like, I mean, did they get a future first for Kennard and proceeded to draft and sign about 5 bigs? So, they've got Griffin, they've got Derrick Rose, who will likely demand a trade at some point. But then again, he's the only guard in the roster, so he might play 48 minutes a game. Who knows? But yeah, it's a bad between Detroit and Cleveland. It's a terrible situation for both teams, which is great for us because then we only have to compete with Milwaukee. Not to mention Chicago. Chicago could be anything this season depending on what they do, because they got rid of one of the most toxic sort of coach-player situations in the league by firing Boylan. But now it's just Milwaukee, and they're going all in, obviously. So, it's a weird division to be a part of. We're sort of a strong second, and then there's a massive drop-off for 3 teams. Justin, what deal do you like the most that you've read today?
I'd actually Lakers getting Montrezl Harrell. I think, he was Clippers. I mean, Lou Williams as well, but he won 6th Man of the Year last year, didn't he? So I saw that off Dwight Howard to Philly, which was a bit funny. Dwight Howard tweeting out he's going to be a Laker, and he's back to Philly. But yeah, I think I guess the rich get richer, don't they? Lakers bringing him off the bench now. They've got Wes Matthews as well. They keep bolstering their bench. Dennis Schroeder. So, geez, the defending champions come back, probably an even stronger team right now. So, I'd say Lakers have probably done the best out of anyone.
We can't confirm any Bogdanovich rumors. Sorry to the commenter. I don't have many sources in Eastern Europe. I don't know about you guys, but okay, you got a few? Yeah. Do you want to just call in the Sabonis family, right, Riley, and see what they have to say? See if they've got some inside goss into fellow Eastern European nations.
Well, I mean, I don't know if I have any Sabonis connections, but apparently Miles leaks all the info to me, so I'll try not to keep that.
So I've heard. He talks to his guys in Australia all the time. That's all you, man. You've got the full inside word.
He leaks all the locker room beef to me, boys, but I just can't announce it on stream, can I?
No, if you could wait till the next podcast so we get more listens, that'd be greatly appreciated. Thanks, Alex. That'd be awesome. Thanks.
Well, all these comments are about how good you are, Alex. This is Paceroos podcast, not the bloody AK Riley fan club.
Exactly. Come on, guys. Jeez. But I mean, you're getting closer to a job at some point, Alex. What's the deal? Like, are you going to move to the States at some point, or what? People want to know. People want to know what the future is for AK Riley.
I don't know, man. I don't know what to tell you. It's free agency right now, so I need someone to sign me, don't I? Jeez.
Yeah, can we get a push going?
KP hasn't made any moves yet, so maybe he signs me late in the free agency. But yeah, I'd love to. I don't know. I feel like you can do this kind of work from overseas, but if I was to get hired by the Pacers, I probably would want to go over there eventually. So who knows? Obviously not right now, though. Eh? Bit tough with
Probably not.
with
Probably
COVID.
not. And I guess next question. You're a free agent. Miles is, signed but could be traded. Do you go where Miles goes? Could we see you in a Celtics jersey or with
No.
Celtics jersey?
You would
swaps
not catch me. Mate, you wouldn't catch me dead in a Celtics jersey. I'll tell you that.
No, I don't care if Reggie Miller got traded in his prime. You stay with the team no matter what.
Yep.
No matter what you think, even if you're unhappy, we're all going to be unhappy if Miles Turner's traded. But yeah, I've stayed through the Pacers, and so have you, Adam, through tougher times, through the brawl when we traded Artest, Steven Jackson, Jermaine O'Neal. If we trade Miles Turner, although it's upsetting, we've gone through a lot tougher times. And look, let's be honest, let's look on the bright side if it does happen. We mentioned, the starting lineup of Brogdon, Oladipo, Hayward, Warren, and Turner. That's a pretty good starting five. That can compete in the East.
Where's Sabonis?
Hayward and Sabonis, you mean? Or?
Do you mean Sabonis?
What did I say?
Turner.
Yeah, Hayward
sorry.
and Turner.
Where are we dealing Sabonis, Justin?
Sorry. Sorry. Before
Justin,
I get
let the hot takes
absolutely
out there.
grilled, I meant Sabonis. But that's a pretty good starting five, right? I think that can compete in the East, and then you're just wanting to bolster up your bench. Our bench is very weak. Definitely if we give up McDermott, Justin Holiday, who knows if he's going to be a pacer. So, yeah, if you have that starting five and you can get some bench plays in the next year or two, we've got a chance.
Joe Harris back to the Nets. Sharpshooter returns to the Nets. He's an important piece for them, especially if they get Harden. I mean, shooters are obviously what they'll need with so many ball handlers. So if they can retain Harris and get rid of other role players for Harden, then, it's a great move for them. And the East is just going to get more and more difficult. I mean, even if that...
You see Detroit, they just signed?
What?
Jeremy Grant.
No.
3 years, $60 million with Detroit, $20 million a year. So they're going to run out 5.5 power forwards next season.
What are the
they
Pistons doing?
I really
This
don't.
is the worst
it's
run
like the Knicks.
franchise.
It's like the Knicks from last year, but they're longer deals. Like, at least the Knicks did 1+1, and Detroit's doing like 2, 3, 4 year deals for these players. It's out of control. I don't know what they're doing.
Are they the worst run franchise right now, or I don't know?
Yeah, Sacramento's just changed their front office, so Detroit's got a chance to surpass them, I guess. Cleveland's not that great.
We got some questions here. Hayward deal alternatives. Who says no? Vic and Doug to the Knicks. We get the Knicks or Clippers 2021 first round pick, and we sign Gordon Hayward in space. Deal Turner separately if needed.
I think the thing that people have got to remember is the cap situation of the Pacers. The Pacers are about $120 million in the cap right now, and with all of our players re-signed, including team options, player options, etc. I think it's about 120. Tony East is tweeted out the cap sheet a little while ago, and the cap's like 109. So we would need to sign Gordon Hayward. We're effectively 10 million over the cap. So to sign Gordon Hayward for 30, we'd have to shed 40, and that's Oladipo and Turner and TJ Leaf. Like that gets you to 40. So I think the issue is that if we were to sign Gordon Hayward in space, we'd need the space, and to get the space, we'd have to trade 2 starters. That's the thing that people probably don't understand. I think the only way that we could get there without trading 2 starters would be to trade Vic and Doug and Jeremy Lamb, which would get us to about 39 million and about 20 million over the cap. But that's also providing that Gordon Hayward's happy to accept 20 million a year. He just turned down 34. So he wants 25 million at least a year. He's going to be the highest paid pacer ever if he gets signed and traded to us. Let that sink in, Justin. I know you're so excited to have that as an answer to a trivia question.
It can't happen. And that's why, I don't know. I've talked myself around. It sounds like Hayward's going to be a pacer. So now I'm all about, all right, what's going to be the return? What's the price to pay, and what players do we have to give up? And that's going to make the decision on if we're all happy or not. We think, I don't know.
He's not worth 30 per year, Brian. But
No.
yeah.
My question is though, do you think he would take a less? I'm not saying like he would take 10 mil or anything. I'm just saying, would he take a lesser deal to sign long term if he really wants to be in Indiana? I think he actually might. Like if we agreed to sign him on a 4-year or something, I think, why not?
If we got him for 4 years, 80 million or something, like the same contract that Brogdon signed, then, awesome. I feel pretty comfortable with that sort of a deal because he wants to be there. He's, still a good player. But I think once you get starting to get up into 25, 30, you start to get up into superstar territory. And I just don't think the guy's a superstar anymore, which is, And
you know what this actually is like pointing out to me is how good of a deal we've got Warren on. Like you look at his numbers are pretty similar to Gordon Hayward's, and he's making, a third of what Hayward made. So Pacers fans should be absolutely ecstatic we got that man for like 10 mil a year or something. I mean, that's actually insane.
He's in 12 for the next 2 years, which is 12, incredible. So I think we've got 2 years to take advantage of it is the other point, because in 2 years he's going to command well over 20 million. He's going to, if he continues on the trajectory that he started in the bubble, he's going to be up around that 25 mark per year, because people are going to respect him. Teams are going to want to go after him. So, and Henry would rather have Buddy Hield than Gordon Hayward. I'm on board, and I mean,
100%.
It's well
100%. I agree.
Publicized that Vic, isn't necessarily the happiest in Indy. If we could trade Vic for Buddy, that's something we've talked about in the podcast several times that all of us are well on board for. I think, the thing about Buddy as well that people don't necessarily talk about is he's got a declining contract. His contract goes down every year, which is, he got the extra money, but he's getting that money up front. He's getting that money this season. I think he goes down to about 16 million in the last season, which is when, a guy like Sabonis is becoming a free agent, a guy like Warren's becoming a free agent. So in terms of cap structure, Hield would make a ton of sense for the Pacers. But I just don't think that Vic has the trade market. I think he's unfortunately harpooned his entire trade market by his conduct and what's been leaked, I guess, over the last few months, which he's denied. And with all due respect to Vic, if he's denied it, then, you can't report it as fact. But it was still put out there and someone still felt strongly enough about it to leak it. So Garrett Temple to Chicago, major moves. Go
That's
Bulls.
League altering there. League altering, man.
Division altering.
This is another good question by Henry. Do you guys think it's worth it to try and convince Depot to stay if we start the year hot? That's a very good question.
I mean, the thing that I say is he essentially has no trade value, right? That's what everyone's reporting. So, we take a gamble, I think, is what's going to happen. I think we say, you know what, Vic, we'll give you this year. And if you get back to all NBA form, whatever, all-star form, then we'll sign you to whatever deal you want. Which, that's a risk that the Pacers probably can't actually take considering they're a small market. And, if it doesn't pan out, we probably lose him for nothing, isn't it? So I think it's a tough gamble to take, but I think that's the one. I think they're going to bet on Vic to get back to, the player he was 2 years ago. And hopefully he does, man. Hopefully he proves all three of us wrong. We've all wanted him to be dealt, but I hope he does prove us wrong, man. I hope he goes back to,
I haven't. I'm joking.
You've been the biggest supporter of him, mate. What am I talking about?
Yeah.
But I hope he proves us wrong, though.
Yeah, it's tough because I don't think there's any way that he stays in free agency. I think all of this is a smokescreen for leaving for nothing. And I think if you're the Pacers, you can't take that gamble. There is no indication whatsoever from any report aside from, the response to the recent reports that Vic wants to stay in Indy long term. He effectively said word for word what Paul George said before he demanded a trade. That's the great irony of it. So let's go on to happier topics. Henry, yes, we should go for Lance. We should go for Lance.
100%. I swear, no matter how this offseason goes and how poorly we think of it, if the Pacers were to sign Lance, it'd make me, I'm not saying, I think it just makes Pacers enjoyable to watch. Every time Lance plays, you want to watch the Pacers because something's going to happen when he's on the court. He makes you want to tune into a game. Those rough games where it's like we play Cleveland on a Saturday night or something where you might not be too obliged to watch, knowing Lance Stevenson's on the court definitely will, spark your interest. I've been a massive advocate. You guys know that. He's been our best bench player of the past 5-10 years. So to bring him back would be a massive win. In China, like Lance is good enough to play in the NBA. He's, I know he's done the best for the Pacers, but I still don't see why any team, even a contender, wouldn't want to bring him off the bench.
Yeah, it's crazy to me. I think, Alex, we're all aligned, aren't we? Lance needs to come back to the Pacers.
Oh, for sure. And this guy, what's he asking? Can Lance even get back from China right now? I think he can, can't he? Or is he in China right now? I don't even know.
Yeah, he was in the States.
Yeah, I think he's in America right now. I could be wrong though. I just can't see Vic here after this year. He either A, doesn't play well this year and goes to a city he prefers for the same money we'd offer, or B, gets back to form and takes the max from Miami. Yeah, I think that's what you were saying, Adam, wasn't it?
Exactly.
Yeah, completely agree. I don't think there's any chance the Pacers have of keeping Vic unless we offer him the maximum amount of money we could, an offer that he couldn't refuse. But I don't think anything in his head right now makes him want to stay in Indiana long-term aside from cash. The latest comment, absolutely. We should trade him near the deadline if we can get value for him. And to be honest, even if we can't, even if it's
I would like to trade. Yeah, you get literally anything at this point. That's why those reports are weird to me. Like, if you're the Pacers, just get something. Like, we were talking about it the other day. It's funny, like a month ago, I would have said, no, the Lakers don't have any package for Oladipo. But at this point, just give me Kuzma. Like, give me someone for Oladipo. I don't even care. Better than losing him for nothing.
Yeah, it's pretty sad to think that it's come to this sort of end. I mean, I think Justin and Alex, you were saying the other day you were watching the Cleveland series. Was it, Alex? Is that you?
Justin was.
Oh, Justin. And it's just incredible to see the difference that 2.5-3 years can make, because Vic was like the king of the Pacers at that point in time. There was no stopping him. There was a chance of him becoming something of folklore, of like one of the greatest Pacers of all time.
Yeah, just seeing game 3 and 4 in Bankers Life Fieldhouse, the fans were loving him, and he was doing that thing where he'd go out to the 3-point line, take a few steps back, and either run and pull up for 3 or go hard to the hoop. Nearly unstoppable. Like J.R. Smith was getting torched, LeBron wasn't guarding him. It's crazy to see how much it's gone from that to now, where Victor Oladipo we saw in the playoffs, and essentially since he got injured, just hasn't been the same player. It's sad to see, but it seems like it's the go for Pacers when they have an 8-star or something. But Henry's asked, with current rosters, what seed do you guys think the Pacers are?
We're a low seed. We're 6th or 7th. Yeah, 6th or 7th is my. I mean, look, have a look at who's above. I think clearly Milwaukee is superior. Boston,
Milwaukee number
Miami,
1 for sure.
Yeah, Milwaukee number 1. Miami will still be up there, and I think they get even better. Toronto will still be good. Boston will still be good. There's 4 off the bat. Brooklyn will obviously significantly improve, and Philly are going to be good. I think they're going to be better than they were last year. So there's 6 teams that are automatically.
To be fair, I think we can be better than the Raptors. Maybe the 76ers, but the Raptors they're probably going to lose. They might lose VanVleet, Ibaka. They're going to lose Gasol. So they're losing players, and I don't know who they bring in. So
yeah,
I think they'll still be good. Obviously, it's not going to count them out, but I think we'll hover around that 5 and 6 seed like we always do, or maybe 5.
Shouts to the Philippines. Shouts to the Philippines. I saw that comment. Even though that we got in a brawl with you guys in the World Cup qualifiers the other year, we've still got love for the Philippines. Great country that loves its basketball. Absolutely loves its basketball. So a lot of respect for the Philippines.
If just back on the seeding, if we're all saying we're about 5th or 6th seed, I mean, what are we doing? Like, honestly, what are we doing? We're doing it. We're, again, going around the roundabout of the same year of first-round exit. We just fired Nate McMillan. Couldn't get us out the first round. We've either got to commit to rebuilding or commit to going all in and getting Eastern Conference Finals appearance, because I mean, the all Pacer Nation are agreeing now. 5, 6, 7th seed, but what are we doing then? Like, it's just turning the wheel for another season.
We talked about that sort of wheel of mediocrity that the Pacers always seem to be in, of that lower playoff seed, and how, we have to go one of two ways. Otherwise, it just ends up being ridiculous. Like, if you end up being 5th, 6th, 7th, 8th every single season, you don't get a lottery pick, and you either get a first-round exit or a second-round exit. Awesome. Like, how is that, a positive situation? So, I don't know. I think we've talked about before, the franchise isn't going to tank. They're just not. So why not take a risk? Why not try and go all in for an all-star? And I guess the headline will be Hayward is going all in for an all-star, technically, but he just hasn't shown that he can be the all-star that he was a few years ago.
Wait, we've got like 7 questions. We've got all these questions flying. I'm just going to try to answer some. What the hell is Danny Ainge smoking? That's a good point. I don't know.
Something illegal.
He's on something that should not be ingested by anyone. Do you guys think we can get Hayward for the MLE? Absolutely no. He wouldn't turn down 34 mil for the mid-level. I wish so. That'd be sick.
Mid-level's like 10, 11 or so?
I think, maybe. But he's not going to take any less than he won't take less than 20. Let me have a look.
Let's address the Turner defending true bigs. You're right. He can't. He always gets smoked by Embiid. And I think that's a pretty consistent thing. No one loves Miles Turner more than the three of us, but I think we all concede that against those dominant bigs, he doesn't have the ability to defend them one-on-one. I don't think he's shown that across his career. So that's definitely a downside. I guess the difference is Milwaukee don't have that sort of player. Boston don't have that sort of player. So, and Miami, I mean, Bam and he, I think the stats between he and Bam in the 4-game series were very similar. But I think the only bigs he has trouble with are Embiid and maybe Cat and AD. And you're not seeing them until either the Eastern Conference Finals potentially or the NBA Finals. So I get that he can't defend bigs, but yeah, I don't think that's a reason that you trade him, because there aren't that many dominant bigs.
Yeah, I agree. Like, I'm really worried about our interior defense if we trade Miles Turner. It's becoming I get why they trade him though. Like, I'm so on the fence about it because, the 2 big man lineup hasn't worked, and I know Nate Bjorkgren wants to go quicker and faster. Having Gordon Hayward who can play different positions, like, I understand it, but it's still a tough pill to swallow, I think.
You're right. Yeah. Alex, another question?
Oh, man, they're coming in too fast. Doug McDermott was a better 3-point shooter than Joe Harris and Bertans. I did not actually know that. I wish he shot the ball better in the bubble. I will say that. During the season, he was unbelievable. Him and Jay Hall were both them. Yeah, I don't know why. I thought shooters would have all been better. Like, I was expecting McDermott and Justin to actually up their numbers, but boy, was I wrong. What else?
Yeah, Drummond torched Turner last season. I think he had a 20-20 in the first game of the season last year when we lost to Detroit, a game that we should have won, which was a theme of the early season last year. But I don't think difficulty against Drummond means that you trade him either, because Drummond won't make the playoffs for the next few years if he re-signs with Cleveland. So,
yeah. This guy, but Doug is unplayable in the playoffs. Yeah, I think that's the problem with McDermott. Like, I've got nothing against him, but the last 2 years in the playoffs, he just has been, almost unplayable liability on defense, and he hasn't really shot the ball well, which is sad. So, but if we do lose him, it's going to hurt. Especially if we lose him and Justin Holiday, who's shooting the ball off the bench? I really don't know. Like,
our bench is fully gutted if that happens.
Essentially, yeah. To be fair, though, it was good news seeing that Lamb might be back at the beginning of the season, which is unreal to me. I can't believe, like, with the injury that he had, that he could be back soon. That's insane.
Yeah, I think the comment regarding dumping Lamb's coming off an ACL. I don't necessarily think that you can dump a guy making $10 million a year that's coming off an ACL. He's got 2 years left. So I'm not sure if that's in play. I think McDermott's contract is tradable. It's an expiring deal worth $7 million, and he could help any playoff team in the right situation. I mean, if he was on Brooklyn, for example, in Joe Harris's spot, is he as good as Joe Harris? No, but he probably gives you, 70% of what Joe Harris does, and he could figure in the rotation. Henry, love to trade Depot to Brooklyn for Levert. I think that'd be one of the better deals that the Pacers could make, along with Buddy Hield. Justin, what's the minimum you'd accept for Oladipo at this point?
Good question. Jesus. Oh, I don't know. Like, it's funny because I've been of the thinkings like we just got to get rid of Oladipo. He's going to be bad for our locker room chemistry, and we could lose him for free next year. Which it's going to be hard to support a guy even if he plays well, knowing he's just going to max his value out and leave anyway. So I find I don't expect much of a return for him because I don't want to watch the Pacers. And even if he plays well, it's hard to kind of root for the guy knowing, look, he's probably not going to be a pacer anyway. So, but then on the other side of it, when I heard, Miles and Victor Oladipo for Gordon Hayward, no way. Like, I'm sorry. I'd rather Oladipo play out the season right now than we give up him and Turner for Gordon Hayward. So, it's hard, but I'd say with Oladipo, even if it's some cap space or like Alex said, I'm sure Lakers probably would accept a Kyle Kuzma for Oladipo, which, 6 months ago I would have laughed. But, I suppose
a month ago I would have laughed at that. And now I'll be happy. So shows you how quickly things can change, eh?
Yeah, I don't think we have a choice at this point. Brian Windhorst reported on the Low Post podcast that Oladipo doesn't have any trade value right now, and that's kind of sad from where he's come from. But I don't think we have any choice but to accept, a role player or a young role player, hopefully, that could grow on the team. But I mean, Kuzma, you've got to pay him next season. He's extension eligible coming up, so how much money is he going to make? I tend to think that he tends to be a little overrated because of the jersey he wears. So,
Facts,
I don't know how much I would be willing to pay a player like Kuzma, given that he hasn't really shown across a full season that he can be a starting caliber forward that can contribute to a playoff team. I don't really see it. Alex?
I mean, the issue with Kuzma is that he's a fun player. I think, in his rookie season, he showed he can score the ball, average like 18 points a game. But you have to do more than score the basketball if you want to get paid in the NBA. I mean, he was pretty terrible in the playoffs. He has a low basketball IQ, not great on the defensive end, even though I think Indiana can get the most defensively out of people. We've seen that time and time again. So, but Kuzma definitely has a ceiling. I just don't know how high it is, especially if he doesn't want to buy in to become at least an above average defender, because if not, then you can't give him more than like the mid-level maybe. I don't know, 12 mil.
Shouts to Clint. That's exactly the point we made earlier. We don't want to remain at that sort of 6, 7, 8 seed. We don't want to be scared to make moves. We want to either make a splash or, rebuild, try and get a lottery pick, try and get a young player in.
Because the Pacers will never do that.
No.
Pacers will never tank.
Yeah, it's frustrating though. Derek Jones to the Trailblazers, by the way.
Oh, really? I don't mind that. Yeah. This guy's asking if we can't get Hayward, who is the next big player the Pacers should go after?
I like it. I like that question.
Yeah, that's a good question.
We've got the mid-level, I guess, being over the cap. So we've got, 10 million. We really need. I mean, I would have said that that the player we should be going after is Jeremy Grant, but he just signed $20 million a year over 3 years for Detroit. So that's a big deal. That's a massive deal. We need a guy to be able to defend guys like Ben Simmons and Giannis and Pascal Siakam and that sort of level of player. I think, TJ Warren's obviously acquainted himself well defensively. I don't know if that player's out there, but I think if we can get a defensive forward, then for me that'd be the position of need. But I don't have a name
exactly,
off the top
yeah.
of my head.
My question is as well with this Hayward lineup is how much are you sacrificing on the defensive end, having Warren at the 3, Hayward at the 4, just for argument's sake, and then Sabonis at the 5? Is that viable? Going up against Milwaukee, yeah, we're going to put up a good amount of points maybe, but Jesus Christ, Giannis might drop 70 points on us. So, I mean, you really, like you said, Adam, I think where do we find that a defensive wing, and a guy that somebody just said was JaMychal Green? I don't, he's obviously not a starter or anything, but I would love him. I think we could get him for cheap. Trying to think of what other, what other options are there? I really don't know. It's tough.
Yeah, I don't know what's out there or what's gettable, particularly for the mid-level, that sort of 10 million mark. I think we've seen a couple of deals happen. I mean, Montrez got 10 million. That was clearly the market for him, and he wanted to play for the Lakers, which is weird given he played for the Clippers. It's I don't know who's there. But there's not many players in the league that can defend Giannis, Ben Simmons, and Pascal Siakam. Not many long forwards. And, Hayward's going to be stepping into that position in the starting lineup should we trade for him. And it's going to be up to one of Gordon Hayward or TJ Warren to defend those guys, those all-stars in the East, those all-star forwards. And that is scary because neither of those guys, TJ Warren, as I said, probably line ball better defender at this point than Gordon Hayward. I think he acquainted himself really well this season. But Justin, is there anyone out there, or how do you feel about Hayward and Warren potentially defending those guys, those all-stars?
Yeah. It's tough, but I feel like every team stresses about that, right? Like any team would, like you always say, how would we guard Giannis? But every team has that dilemma. When we had Thad Young, he was a good defender, but he gave us nothing on offense. So it's kind of pick your poison. Thad Young defended well, but then teams would sag off Thad Young and defend Vic or Paul George, and Thad was becoming a liability. So it's like it's picking poison, what you actually want to happen. And who do I want the Pacers to get? I don't know. It's like, well, there'd be a range of players I'd want, but we're talking realistically here. Unfortunately, being a small market, you've got to think about who wants to stay in Indiana, or we're just going to trade for a guy who then wants to get up and leave in a year. I'd love Damian Lillard. I'd love all these superstars, Embiid, James Harden, all these players I'd love to be a Pacer, but it's just not realistic. So, Buddy Hield, I'd be keen on that. Good three-point shooter. I was talking to Alex the other day. We watched the NBA draft together, and I feel like the Indiana Pacers work on the Oakland A's Moneyball movie scenario. That's to find. We've spoke about it before as well, Adam. They find players who are underutilized in other teams on small contracts, i.e. TJ Warren, i.e. Bojan Bogdanovic, i.e. trade for Sabonis, who wasn't getting utilized in OKC. This is how the Pacers try and succeed: is finding little gems
back in the day.
Yeah. Exactly right. So that's how Pacers they work their model on. They're not going to go for the big fish in James Harden or Westbrook. They'll try and they feel like to compete, they need to find underutilized players in the league. That's why I thought Kelly Oubre was an option for the Pacers, because he's kind of underutilized in Phoenix. But I feel like that's the way the Pacers model has been going. So don't expect a big free agent signing or a big trade.
The only problem I'll say on that, though, is that I look around the league and, what did the Warriors get Kelly Oubre for? A protected first-round pick, right? And then you look at some of the other deals that teams are making, and they're getting these dudes who, can produce straight away for absolutely nothing, or the bare minimum. So I think that's the frustrating thing, and that's what I think is frustrating a lot of Pacers fans, is that you look around the league, and even today, all these teams are making moves. The Bucks made moves earlier this week, and then the Pacers sit. So, I mean, we're rumored to get Hayward, and if we do, I think that's a pretty good move, maybe. But yeah, it's frustrating to watch these guys give up barely anything for pretty good players, and we sit still.
I think the other thing about that is that Oubre was able to be had because of a trade exception. Now, to get a trade exception, you have to do a trade, and the Pacers just don't really want to do that. So, options just aren't available because of the lack of trades that are done. You look at the trades that the Pacers actually have completed over the last few years, things like trading for Brogdon for a first-round pick to be able to sign him as a restricted free agent. The trade to swap over George Hill for Jeff Teague is another one. TJ Warren was for a second-round pick. There's no significant moves happening by the Pacers. There's nothing that creates a trade exception. There's nothing that brings back assets that can be included in trades down the line. They don't tend to make moves with a view to a year or 2 years down the road. They make moves with a view to how do we compete this season and this season alone, which is great in the moment and great at that time. But then you get swept and you think, what moves can we make to make this franchise better and make this roster better? And there are none because you haven't actually set anything up to do that.
Should be able to.
Yeah, I know this is stating the bleeping obvious, but to this day, I think the Brawl just changed the Pacers for good. With the way they target players, the bad boy culture we maybe used to have with Tinsley Jackson and Artest and O'Neal, it's gone. That one game will forever change the Pacers franchise. We don't target players DeMarcus Cousins was to be a Pacer. I can't see it because he's got that bad boy image. Got that bad boy image. I'm not saying they are bad people or anything, but that's the image they have and the image Pacers want to stay away from. So it's sad that one game has honestly, it's just changed our culture forever. And, it's just the way it is.
Very true. Very true. I think we might wrap it up there, guys. It's been a fun first live stream. We've been on for 45 minutes, which is a bit longer than we expected, but we really appreciate everyone jumping on. I think we're going to have to do another few of these. This will be something that you see a bit more from the Paceroos. We'll try and spruce it up a little bit, get some graphics happening and stuff. And, especially if there's a Gordon Hayward deal, I think we need to jump on and get some rapid reactions for that if and when it happens. But thanks, everyone, for logging on and watching. If you watch the replay, thanks for watching, and we'll drop a podcast shortly. Thanks, Alex.
Appreciate
Thanks, Justin.
No worries, mate.
Thanks, guys.